Hey team, this is Sam, and my assessment that I have for this project is the Standard California Testing and Reporting Program, better known as the STAR program or STAR testing, as I'm sure some of you have heard. I apologize for getting this up late. I've been having massive technical difficulties. Hopefully a few of you haven't finished with your comments and someone actually sees this, and hopefully this works. So what is the STAR program? The STAR program is a statewide set of tests that are given to primary and secondary students in California. They don't give it to kindergarten or first grade, and they don't give it to seniors in high school, but everyone from grades 2 to 11 takes these tests. Every year you take either a math or an English language arts section, and then interspersed in grades 5, 8, 10, and 11, you get a history, social science test to take, and then in grades 9, 10, and 11, they take science tests. There are 4 components to the STAR testing. There's the California Standards Test, better known as the CSTs. These test how students are doing in relation to the state standards, and we're going to talk a little bit later about how they're related to the state standards. But the CST themselves, that is what the majority of students took. There are the CMAs, which are California Modified Assessments. Those are given to students with individualized education programs, IEPs. If you don't know what IEPs are, you will soon. I'm learning all about them right now, but these are for kids who have various learning needs. So there will be people and teachers collaborate to come together with a specific set of kind of guidelines, the best way that we can help this student succeed, and they are given a different set of tests for this. There are also the CAPAs, the California Alternate Performance Assessment. These are individually monitored tests, and these are for students who can't take the CSTs or the CMAs with modifications. So these are kids with severe learning needs, and really they have difficulties that require really close attention and modifications. So there are tests designed for them as well. And this seems like a rather Californian subset of tests, but they are called the SBTSs, and they are standards-based tests in Spanish. If you are a Spanish-speaking English learner and you receive instruction in Spanish, or if you've been enrolled in school in the US for less than 12 months from the last time that testing occurred, you are given a different set of tests. And that is to try and do the best to make the test as fair as possible for everyone who's taking tests in the state. Testing procedures. These should occur when 85% of the school year has happened. So it should be done 10 days before or after that. So they want the majority of the curriculum to be done. The tests that they give are almost all multiple choice. There is a writing standards prompt, but for the most part, these are A, B, C, D questions. And your results are broken down into 5 categories. You can be advanced, you can be proficient, you can be basic, below basic, and you can be far below basic. You take the test and you get like a big point range. I didn't put them down because there's no real context for them, but basically anywhere in a 50-point range. I think it was like basic is a 300 to a 349. And then if you are 350 to 399, you're proficient. 400 above and is advanced. I don't know how they come up with those numbers, but that's what they are. In addition to those numbers, students are graded by a percentile compared to other students. I don't know if you guys remember taking these tests. I remember taking these tests, but you would get a printout and it would be like you are in the 88th percentile. And that means that you were in the top like 12% of students who took the test, and so on and so forth. So not only are you graded in those 5 categories, but then you're graded amongst your peers. How do the tests matter? STAR tests, they don't affect your grade, but they can help you get placed in different programs and classes. If I remember correctly, in like 7th or 8th grade in junior high, it could lead to you getting an enriched English, which then puts you on the path to starting an honors English when you get to high school. So they do matter in that regard. The way they probably matter the most is that they affect a school's academic performance index, or the API. An API is a ranking on how academically rigorous a whole school as the institution is. And this matters because colleges look at these scores. So basically, an A at a school with a high API matters more to a college than an A from a high school with a lower API. So the higher your school's API is, the higher the kids do on these tests. Basically, your college application is weighted higher. So these tests do really matter. Do they work? No. Let's talk about that. There are vast criticisms of STAR testing. The National Center for Fair and Open Testing says the STAR program will undermine education reforms needed by California's children, particularly low-income students, children of color, recent immigrants, and students with special needs. I linked to a website where someone did a really good job of, they found various schools that had big wage gaps for like the average or the median incomes for the student populations. And basically, schools with rich kids are going to outpace schools with poor kids big time in these tests. So they're not completely fair to all the other students. And also, these tests, they promote teaching to the test, and there is a devaluation of individual teacher innovation. I sourced the first two kind of bullets here. The third bullet, I didn't bother sourcing because I found it on like 5 different websites, and I've heard that 10 different times in my life teaching to the test. It takes up a lot of classroom time, and teachers can't do the stuff they want to do because they have so much pressure on them to get these standardized test scores up. Does California STAR testing still exist? No. In 2013, Governor Jerry Brown of California signed an executive order to end STAR testing. He and the Superintendent of Public Instruction, Tom Torlakson, were the lead drivers of this decision. Torlakson said, "I've said from the beginning, California needs tests that measure how ready our students are for the challenges of a changing world." STAR testing went out and the CASP came in, California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress. I get to give this test in a couple months. These are taken on computers, and they think that they better fit the learning needs and the reality of students in 2016. So all that stuff I told you about STAR testing is kind of irrelevant because it doesn't matter anymore. They test you on the subjects. They compare you to your other students. They evaluate teachers and schools based on the numbers. My own editorial is that standardized tests are the devil, but they seem to be a necessary evil, both nationally and on a state level. I believe, yep, my next page is just my sources cited. That is what I had on, STAR testing. Thank you guys for listening to my screencast.